Happy Friday, North Dakota. If it's Friday, it's All Things Advocacy with AARP North Dakota. Josh Askvig, State Director of AARP North Dakota. With me is Janelle Moos, our Advocacy Director. Janelle, happy Friday.
Yes, it is Friday, isn't it?
You say that with so much confidence in your voice. So is that because the legislature is still meeting? Why don't we
Yes,
tell
that is
folks about the week that it was? So,
you're right, Josh. The legislature had originally planned to adjourn this week, but they are still here in Bismarck. They have about 30 bills left in conference committee as of today. And there are several bills that we're still watching. So this week, one in particular that's interest to our members is Senate Bill 2212, which is the study resolution, which it had some really good changes on the Senate side. It's on the House side, it's now a mandatory study, and it includes some other players, including pharmacy benefit managers. And the House and Senate both supported that bill pretty widely, and now it's just sitting on the governor's desk waiting for his signature. So we'll make sure that we keep you all informed about the next steps for that study resolution. We'll see that shortly after the session and into the summer. So
I know the other thing we've been watching closely, and I know you've been paying attention to the conference committee on the Department of Human Services budget. It has a number of items related to senior meals funding, related to Older Americans Act funding, related to home and community-based services or long-term care providers and needs for folks to receive long-term care in their home or within their community rather than in a nursing home, if they so choose. Any updates on where that's at?
you know, that conference committee has been meeting at least once, if not twice a day for the last several days. Their House and Senate are still trying to iron out some details on some key pieces of that budget, which is so important to folks that need services across the state. So we're going to continue to watch that. They hope to meet again yet this afternoon and then early next week. But as I said, there's about 30 bills still out in conference committee, including several large budget bills.
Yeah, and just for sharing, if people think we're still not paying attention to a wide array of things, I know you've also been tracking housing is an important issue for older North Dakotans. The Housing Incentive Fund, which we were part of a group that, hard to believe it's over a decade ago now that the Housing Incentive Fund was created. There's some potential changes and some budget cuts potentially from what was originally recommended happening and trying to get some of that funding restored. Any updates on that issue?
You know, that bill, which is in the Industrial Commission budget, that is still in conference committee as well. They're making some slow progress. I think the House and Senate both agree that the Housing Incentive Fund has been an important program to create some affordable housing options across the state for many seniors. I think is such a key issue, and I think you're right. Folks often just believe we've been stuck and uber focused on prescription drugs, but there are so many other things that happen in budget bills or in policy bills that touch on the lives of older North Dakotans, and housing is one of them, utilities issues. We want to make sure that your voice is heard no matter where it is, but some of those finer details are still being worked out, but we're hoping that the Senate and House agree on funding that will help create some more affordable housing options in the state.
Absolutely. And then I also know, Janelle, it sounds like Wednesday is kind of the day next week that they hope to adjourn. They're trying to save a couple days because of some of the Stimulus Act funding that's going to come later on this year. They also have to do a session on redistricting. And so I think they need a minimum of 3 days, if I remember correctly. What have you heard? What do you know in terms of how this session, the 67th session of the North Dakota Legislative Assembly might wrap up next week?
Well, what we're hearing is they'll probably meet into the evening tonight. Several conference committees will meet. They're going to take the weekend off. Representative Pollard, the House leader, did say enjoy your last weekend, but he did say that the next 3 days, Monday through Wednesday, will be fairly long in terms of ironing out the last details for budgets and policies. But they hope to adjourn middle of the week and save some of those days. A lot of issues that they've been talking about, until we know how much funding's coming into the state regarding the most recent package that was passed by Congress, some of those things will need to be discussed in that special session. And so that's what we're looking for. What things can they decide on now, and then what can they wait until that special session?
Absolutely. And, Janelle, I think the other thing that we're really focused on, well, we've gotten a number of things past the session. And for those of you watching, if you're interested, next week is going to be all about what happened this session. What did we, what was successful? What did we maybe not get done? And what does the interim potentially look like? And we'll do that whenever the legislature wraps up for good, or what they call sine die, as part of that. So pay attention to that. But there is still a prescription drug. You mentioned the study bill, but there's also the prescription drug transparency bill that has officially been sent to the governor's desk. I know we sent a letter to the governor's office today. What do we want people to do related to that issue?
You're right. That's the last bill that we're waiting for the governor's signature on. That's the transparency bill. If you have just a couple minutes, either tonight or over the weekend, send a quick note to the governor, encouraging him to sign House Bill 1032, or the prescription drug transparency bill. It's a really positive step forward in terms of shining a light on what goes into the cost of drugs. So.
Absolutely. And we just posted that link, if you're watching on Facebook, in the comments section. Click on that. Tell your friends and neighbors if they are wanting some additional transparency in what happens with the prescription drug chain here in North Dakota. It's a really good bill. It's a good start to start gathering additional data. It also helps consumers be warned of changes that may be happening with the price spiking on certain prescription drugs. And so hopeful that the governor, and strongly encouraging the governor to sign that bill as part of this process. So with that, Janelle, anything else you want to cover today before the weekend?
No, we're excited to share really everything that happened during the session next week with all of you, but just, we've appreciated you tuning in every Friday, and we hope to continue this after the legislative session, so you can stay involved in our advocacy work, even when the legislature's not meeting. So again, take a quick minute to send a note to the governor over the weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Hey, I want to thank you all for watching as well, and thank you for the work. As I said, next week will be a little bit longer. Janelle and I are going to kind of walk through everything that did pass, didn't pass, things we're keeping an eye on, as well as kind of set you up, as Janelle just said, for the work that we're going to do in the what they call the interim, or the time between legislative sessions, related to looking ahead to what does hard to think about this, that they haven't even wrapped up the 2021 session, already start thinking about what does the 2023 session look like for us. But that's an important time to educate ourselves, lawmakers, et cetera, to make good public policy decisions in favor of North Dakotans 50 plus. So with that, thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week. This has been another All Things Advocacy.